Without word, seldom heard, Banderhobb's creep. From shadows deep and voiceless night, when stars alight upon the bleak and moonless blight. What would you do if you encountered the monster in a children's fairy tale? Not the kind of fairy tale where the hero slays the beast, and all is safe and warm forevermore, but the kind that injects terror into a child's heart. The terror that keeps them away from the forest-shadowed tree line, and holds them back from wandering alone into a darkened alleyway. The kind that makes them fear the monster under the bed. Would you freeze, your eyes locked with those bulging, grotesque orbs, seeing you as the prey you are? Or would you run, your stubby, mortal frame moving away from it as fast as it can, like it will actually make a difference in what happens to you? Or, if you're one of the brave few who possess the nerve to do so, will you fight, your sword arcing through the air only to meet the unyielding mottled flesh of its hide? It looks down at you with a terrifying apathy. It wraps its leathery tongue around you and pulls you into a widening maw of serrated teeth. It comprehends your screams, but it does not care. You'd hoped your end would have been more dignified and less painful. A terrifying form. The Banderhobb is a twisted amalgamation of flesh and shadow essence, siphoned from the Shadowfell itself. Thankfully, it's not a naturally occurring creature, so they are somewhat sparse population-wise. Unfortunately, there are fell entities and users of the dark arts that create Banderhobbs to use as agents to fulfill their ill-intended missions. On the exterior, a Banderhobb resembles a revolting genetic crossing of an ogre and a toad. Its face is composed of bulging, bulbous eyes meant to see in the dark and track prey, and a massive maw filled with razor-sharp teeth. From its body protrude long, sinewy limbs, possessed of a surprising, crushing strength, given their skinny appearance. At the end of each of its fingers is a black claw, capable of rending through plate mail and snatching prey from a distance. Its skin is leathery, oily, and slightly translucent, so small wisps of shadow can be seen moving underneath. It hides a massive tongue in its maw, which can be launched with great force to grapple prey up to 15 feet away. Standing at roughly 12 feet tall, it is a towering monstrosity. Gods forbid that you are the subject of its hunt. Now, despite its formidable nature, it is killable. At some point, a curious wizard or the like was able to slay a Banderhobb and cut it open to study its insides, before its form dissolved into shadow essence. What they found is that a Banderhobb leaks no blood if it is injured or cut, but instead a shadow-black ichor, which flows through its twisted veins and evaporates upon contact with the air. The insides of its body house no recognizable internal organs, but instead consist of sinew, necrotic sludge, and shadow matter, all meshed together by dark enchantment. Lacking lungs and a stomach, the Banderhobb requires neither food, air, or water to live, which allows it to operate in many environments that would kill other creatures. Shadowy origins. The Banderhobb is not born into the world. It is crafted from a dark and twisted alchemy. Night hags employ this practice mostly, but other wicked arcane practitioners have been known to create Banderhobbs to fulfill their designs, whether it be the stealing of an artifact, kidnapping, or assassination. In a sinful ritual, humanoid flesh, be it from a corpse or sacrificial victim, is infused with shadow essence, siphoned directly from the Shadowfell. A binding chant weaves the two into a single, abhorrent toad-ogre form, and imprints an arcane matrix that suppresses the will and personality the victim once possessed. A token of the target, such as an item of theirs or a lock of hair, is given to the Banderhobb upon its genesis, linking the newly formed monster's mind to the sole task of locating the target. As a side note, as effective as its toad-ogre form may be, one has to wonder why anyone would choose its servant to look so, unique. It's speculation, but perhaps the night hags that typically create it model it based on the creatures inhabiting their environment, which are typically swampy or aquatic biomes. An affinity for these creatures could lead them to craft its form to be pleasing to their eye. It is said that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, after all. Anyways, back to it. More ancient research into the Banderhobb's origins suggests that the first of its kind were created in the Shadowfell itself as experiments by the dark fae that reside there. The practices of these shadow denizens spilled over into the material realm, and covens of night hags were the first to adopt and refine the creation ritual. Accounts are mixed, however, as some claim that the night hags were the first to create it at the dawn of the world, and the dark fae learned the ritual from them. Scholars fascinated by the more odd life forms appearing in the world theorize that since the Shadowfell reacts strongly to negative emotion, and even remembers the emotions the horrific Banderhobb rituals produced, that Banderhobbs have begun to form spontaneously in the Shadowfell due to the land mimicking the ritual process and the emotions involved. A lesser-known myth about its origin, of which no evidence is readily available other than ancient writings, is that a tower exists in the Shadowfell, a no place where Banderhobbs roam, and possibly where they were born. The myth says that each act of kidnapping, each thievery, and each murder committed by a Banderhobb grows this tower, adding to its massive expanse. If this legend is true, it suggests a more integral tie to the fabric of the Shadowfell, or perhaps a tie to some dark deity who resides in the tower. Whatever its true origin may be, it is enveloped in shadow. Cruel obedience. The Banderhobb is created not as an independent creature, filled with wants and desires like you or I, but as a tool devoid of emotion, that's absolutely committed to its purpose. Banderhobbs feel no need to eat, sleep, or reproduce, and only do what it takes to fulfill its master's designs and complete the hunt. As simplistic as its goals may be, it is not mindless. It has the capacity to think critically if it relates to the fulfillment of its mission. It can plan the best way to retrieve or kill its target. What is the fastest way to the target? Where should it hide for its ambush? What time of day gives it the maximum cover of darkness from which to strike? Is it better to lure it to an area where the target is vulnerable by using irresistible bait? The Banderhobb thinks to this extent and more, but only if it's related to the hunt. It is not concerned with the nature of its existence, or the moral concerns of the acts it commits in the completion of its task. If its goal is to retrieve an artifact, say an old sword, handed down from a family line through untold generations, that now rests on the mantle of a farmhouse in the countryside, the farming family unaware that the sword was wielded by a paladin of Tyr himself during the Dawn Cataclysm, still containing a fragment of his power. The Banderhobb won't ask itself if it needs to kill the family to acquire the sword, or wrestle with any moral quandary about doing so. It will simply ask if it's the most efficient way to acquire the sword, and not be pursued on its way back to its master. This is likely the case, so without compunction, it will slaughter the family, the men, the women, the children, and the pets, and steal off into the night, the artifact securely in its grasp. That is where the true evil of the Banderhobb lies. It doesn't enjoy causing pain, suffering, and terror, because joy, anger, and sadness are alien to it. One does not need to be a sadist to be evil, however. Evil comes in many forms, and one of them is complete and utter apathy to the plight of other living beings. The complete lack of empathy and cold, unfeeling approach to brutality is the mark of a true monster. I have a feeling, however, it would have no compunctions about being labeled as such. Merciless hunters. The Banderhobb is often a solo predator, given that its nature is entirely utilitarian and it has no societal structure or bonds. It does, on occasion, hunt in pairs though, if it's a particularly difficult mission it was created for. Its target has very little chance of avoiding it for long, or sensing it before it strikes. The Banderhobb hunt consists of 5 phases, the first of which is the planning phase. The Banderhobb hunts specific people, not random victims, although it will kill anybody that gets in the way, or if it benefits its hunt. As we've discussed earlier, the Banderhobb once created is given an item or element of the victim it is hunting, thus creating a resonant connection, a sort of magical tether, allowing the Banderhobb to sense the target's direction up to a mile away, navigate obstacles without hesitation, and distinguish the individual immediately, even in a crowd. Banderhobbs are typically not created within a mile of their target, so if the target's direction is not relayed by their creator, it must track the target by conventional means, like footprints and other signs of their passing, until it gets within a mile radius of said target. Then, the resonant connection will guide it. The second is the observation phase, where it will stalk the target and observe their movements to determine when they're most vulnerable so it may strike, which is preferably at night, and when the target is alone. If the target is well guarded, then maybe bait is needed. The Banderhobb has no issue with kidnapping a loved one to lure out the target. It will meld with the shadows, becoming nearly invisible, and teleporting from shade to shade to not lose sight of the target. This ability, combined with its unnatural stealthiness, makes it nearly impossible to detect. It does not get bored, it does not blink, and it does not sleep. This phase can take as long as it needs. The third phase is the strike, when the target's position is vulnerable, or the Banderhobb's position is advantageous. The Banderhobb will attack blindingly fast and brutally. It will launch its leathery tongue at the target and bind them tightly in its unyielding coils. Tightly enough to knock the air from the victim so they can't scream. They are then drawn into the Banderhobb's gaping maw and swallowed alive, likely suffering terrible gashes as they slide past the razor's edge teeth. The victims find themselves dropped into the Banderhobb's stomach, which isn't a normal digestive intestine. It's a pocket of shadow within the creature, an extra-dimensional space inside of it that is larger than the Banderhobb's body itself. It is a cold, dark, and suffocating pocket of unspace that weakens the prisoner and is meant for containment and transportation rather than digestion. If the Banderhobb's mission was to kill the victim, then instead of depositing them in its stomach, it will simply chomp down on their body repeatedly, turning them into a slurry of rendered meat. With the assassination carried out successfully, the Banderhobb stops moving and stands still to slowly rot away into black slime, its mission, its purpose, and thus its lifespan now at an end. If the mission was to abduct, however, we carry on to the fourth phase. The fourth phase being the extraction. Immediately after the abduction, the Banderhobb will teleport up to 30 feet away to the closest dark area using its Shadow Step ability. It will then retreat into cover, attempting to lose any pursuers, and begin to move at full speed towards its creator with the intent of delivering its captive stored securely in its stomach, shadow stepping when it can to increase its speed and throw off pursuers. It will not engage in prolonged combat unless it's needed to clear its path. It ignores distractions, even arrows that may pierce its fleeing hide, and won't stop until it reaches its master. The delivery and dissolution is the fifth and final phase. Once the Banderhobb reaches its creator, it will regurgitate the captive, delivering them to the care of their very likely ill-intended captor. Its mission being completed, it stands still, like in the assassination scenario, and dissolves into black sludge over the course of days. Weaknesses. As formidable as the Banderhobb is, it is not without its flaws, which a cunning combatant can exploit to a great degree and turn the hunter into the hunted. Being a creature of shadow, the Banderhobb does not thrive in the light, which stifles its shadow step and stealth abilities, making it slower and susceptible to detection. Daylight, torches, lanterns, light spells, and wide open areas where shadows can't hide will give you the environmental advantage in a Banderhobb encounter. The Banderhobb can attack with its tongue at a range of 15 feet, but no farther. It is a close-up assassin and abductor, not a long-range combatant. If you can spot a Banderhobb at a distance, you have a good chance of striking first with a ranged weapon, or spell before it can reach you. This marks the importance of wide open spaces again, since cover is what allows the Banderhobb to close the distance. Insight is a weapon against the Banderhobb as well. If you know what Banderhobb is after you, you can lure it into a trap, a sort of counter ambush, where you can exploit its obsession with you, the target. Make yourself look like easy prey and isolate, but wear heavy spiked armor, so when its tongue wraps around you, the pain prevents it from getting purchase. Have a hold monstrous spell ready to root it in place, or if you have great strength, grasp its tongue and pull it out of the shadows and into the light, where your allies, which the Banderhobb was too fixated on you to notice, spring forth from hiding, and end its miserable existence at the end of their blades. Many variations of traps can be set if you know the monster is after you. Inform me in the comments of any good counter-ambush techniques you've developed against the Banderhobb. Lastly, and perhaps the most exploitable flaw of the Banderhobb, is its general ineffectiveness against numbers. Banderhobbs typically are solo hunters, but have been known to hunt in pairs of 2 as well, as discussed previously. Although they do a poor job at group coordination, more than this number participating in the same hunt is extremely rare. The Banderhobb has no area of effect attacks, and can only strike its foes at a moderate pace using its slightly above average agility. It has no offensive spells, its only spell-like abilities being its innate Shadow Step and Shadow Stealth traits. Its constitution, while formidable, is easily whittled down by the repeated blows of competent warriors or the lethal spells of mages. Its only means of limiting damage to itself is to kill the attackers or escape. It is unlikely to do either if the target is in sight. It will ignore other enemies, and even its own self-preservation to get to them. While it strains to reach its target, their allies can kill it. In the face of monsters, we are always stronger with companions at our side. The Banderhobb is a tool of the wicked. It is not mindless, but is an obedient slave to darkness, formed from death and the negative energies of the Shadowfell that underlie the material plane. It is relentless, it is merciless, and it will not rest until it finds you and steals you away into the night, to a fate worse than death. So, if you earn the ire of a night hag and manage to escape with your life, then keep the lights on. Hope that you have the strength of allies to count on, and that it's enough. Because you may be being watched already. Hello my friends, thank you for attending today's lore reading, and thank you to those that liked and subscribed. It is extremely gratifying to know that you enjoyed this content to that extent. And remember, although some monsters can be overcome alone, every monster can be overcome with allies at your side. Have a good day my friends, and I'll see you in the next one.